Let's start with the introduction. Since a bunch of people were not here during the first General Assembly roughly 1 year ago, I have to do some recap, so there will be some slightly redundant information for those that have already seen this, okay? The first one is just a very brief history. So in 2004, the faculty was created. In July 2017, we built the Software Institute. In September 17, we opened the Master in Software and Data Engineering. And we reached our current formation in August 2018, so basically 1.5 years ago, which is right now composed of 6 professors and 1 senior group leader. In February 2019, we had the first General Assembly with 29 people, and now it's January 2020, and it's the second General Assembly, and we are, in theory, 34 people. I've counted 31 here, okay? So, overall, we are quite a diverse bunch. We are already 34 people from 11 countries, okay, which is nice. And I will come back to the diversity thing in a bunch of minutes. So, what is the Software Institute all about? I would call this that what we aim to achieve is a seamless integration of, and software is always latent in all of this, okay, research in software, education in software, development of software, and also outreach with respect to what software is all about, okay? And we sit in the middle. This is also taken from roughly 1.5 years ago, the goals that we have. Now, of course, if you look at these goals, you think that we are kind of mad, okay? Because one side, it says that in the long term, we want to become, in terms of research, #1 in the world. And right now, we are quite a distance from that because we are only #7 in the world, okay? We are still #1 in Europe, which is cool. But there's another bunch of things that we aim to achieve that we didn't even really start to look into. But we are, I think, rather small, less and less small, and I think what is important above all is that we want to grow in a healthy way. This is not just about having armies of people doing strange stuff. This is about being a cool place. I'll come back to that as well. So the research for today is, the agenda for today is, I will talk a little bit about research. Then Cesare will talk about the education that we offer. Then I will do a review of 2019 with the help of Paolo and Gabriele and Marco. And then I will do a preview of 2020. So it will be rather funny, I hope. Let's start with research. Now, one key aspect when it comes to research, which is one of the classical axes of an academic career, let's say, is that we don't do only research. In reality, the goal here is that we do research and development, okay? So we are right now composed of 7 groups, let's say, and we are active in diverse areas pertaining to software at large, okay? This, of course, does not cover the complete software engineering field. There are areas which are missing, okay, but we want to grow slowly and healthily. Now, with respect to the impact that we have in research, what you see here is not a cumulative chart. It's actually a yearly chart of the added citations of each of the 7 people leading the various groups. So we are still growing, although, as you might see, in 2019, we are slowly flattening out. Okay, why is that? Because we are and remain human after all. So although we are pretty damn good, eventually you reach a cap, okay? We are looking into cloning Gabriele, but right now experiments fail so far. All of this, in the end, is just citations, and I hope that by now you know that citations are a rather fuzzy thing, okay? Although careers are built on that. Now, an even more fuzzy thing is rankings, okay? Now, with respect to rankings, this was taken this morning, I think. We still are #1 in Europe, which is pretty impressive. As a matter of fact, projections are pretty good because if you think about it, a bunch of people of the heads, let's say, started publishing 10 years ago, or less than 10 years ago, at top-level conferences. So in reality, if you slowly shift this time window, things in reality will get better, okay? But better with respect to what? It's just a ranking, okay? But in any case, think about this. Although you might not buy into this, and I hope you don't, there are people who buy into stuff like that, and you cannot just ignore this, because when it comes to promotion, for example, of our master program, we have to use information like that, okay? What is much more important than research output in reality is research input. And there we are faring, I would say, in a rather spectacular way. The value that really counts here, so these are 20 projects, okay, is the one with the yellow background. This is the added sum of all projects that we managed to get in the last 13 months, because the institute exists since 2.5 years. 10.4 million francs, which is mind-boggling if you think about it, okay? That's really astounding. Again, there probably we are slowly reaching a saturation point, because now everyone in the institute has 1, 2, 3, 4 projects, and eventually it's nice to get money, because with money you can hire cool people and you can do cool stuff, but eventually with the money you have to do stuff, so then you are busy doing stuff, okay? What is also interesting in all of this is that research money in general in Switzerland is rather easy to obtain. It's much more difficult to obtain in Europe, okay? And that's why having 2 ERC grants in the institute is, again, unique in this university, okay? That's just astounding. But what is also interesting, since I spoke at the beginning about research and development, is that if you look at all those projects, there are a bunch of projects which are actually development projects. So this is where people actually implement stuff, which I wouldn't consider as less valuable than pure research projects. Because in the end, the idea that was always behind building the institute the way it is built was that we should also practice what we preach, and not only preach, okay? Now, last year I had a donut to show all of this. This is the donut again. The donut got smaller because actually things got bigger, okay? So that's the way it looks. You might notice that in this case, I don't really put names of people or specific projects, because for me, this is not about individual achievements. Individually, of course, it's cool if I get money and then I can say, hey, I have money, okay? This is about the performance of the institute as one, okay? Now, this, of course, is a snapshot in time, okay? So out of those projects, actually, I think 16 are active. No, actually, let's say 16 are active or planned. They didn't even start yet, while 4, the small ones, are completed already. What is much more important in reality is this chart here. Now, what you see here is the cumulative over all the projects, sum of money, actually it's not cumulative, that we will get every month. And right now we are somewhere, I know it's too small to see, it's on purpose, we are somewhere here. Which means we will go through a very sharp increase of money that is flowing into the institute now. Because between December, January, and February, 7 projects have started or will be started. And this means we will hire people. If you look at the top line, which is that one there, we're talking here about roughly 200,000 francs that enter the institute every month. Now, if you consider how much a PhD student costs, which sounds weird, let's say 5,000, actually it's 4,000, okay, and the postdoc, which is 6,000, 7,000, you make an average, you see that within the next 12 months, we will not probably double in size, but get very close to that. So I would estimate that by the end of the year, we will be at least 50 people. So growing a lot, okay? And again, there it's about growing in a good way. And to this, it's also tied the whole move to Campus Est that I will come back to towards the end. The whole thing from a cumulative point of view looks like this, okay? So this is basically since the beginning of time of the Institute, and this is a projection until 2025, December. So obviously at the end it flattens out because none of the projects right now running will run until December 2025. So every new project then adds another line and another line and goes higher and higher. So things are, in terms of the money that we can lift, are splendid, I would say. On top of that, there is an allowance from the university that right now we are not really using. So this is actually a fact. While all the other parties in the faculty are pretty much burning all the money they can, we are underperforming there. We could actually hire at least another 5 people more on USI money, so essentially for free. The problem there, or if you want, it's a first world problem, is that this is not our goal. Our intention is to hire good people, and good people are rare, okay? So slowly, slowly, slowly. So this was about the whole research and development thing. The next part is about education. Cesare.
Okay, thank you, Michele, for handing it over. So education at the Software Institute is mainly about the Master in Software and Data Engineering, which we offer to a large and growing student population. And this master was started together with the Institute, so it was part of one of the cornerstone of the building blocks upon which the Institute is built. And every professor in the Institute is contributing and teaching it into the master. The basic idea of the master is that nowadays software does not exist without data, and data is useless without software. So this master teaches students how to connect software and data together. And it also embeds the idea that, as everybody that has written a compiler knows, software is actually data as well. So you can also reflect upon software as if it was data. Here you can see the main pillars into the master. The red one is the software part, which also reflects the core of the expertise that we have in the Institute. The green one is the data, starts on data, then it moves into information, and then it goes all the way to knowledge, and eventually it gets to wisdom and higher level insights, but we leave it for the PhD. That's the master is too short for that. Also inherits some of the good ideas about educational programs from the USI Faculty of Informatics. For example, at the center, we have ateliers. Every semester, students do project-based learning, and these ateliers are merging the skills and the knowledge that comes from the data part and the software part. So you can see the Design 101 atelier, the Visual Analytics atelier, and the Software Analytics atelier. There's also some room for flexibility, so there is also some electives, and at the top there is the master's thesis, which is one full semester. I hope everybody in the Institute is familiar with the program. I think you're involved one way or the other, either by teaching or by being a TA or by supervising some student projects, so you should know the big picture, where is your course located and how it connects with the others. The master is doing great. These are the student numbers. We have opened it with the Institute, so at the beginning we only had 8 pioneers, out of which all of them have graduated but 1 for health reasons. Otherwise, by now he would also have been graduated, but he didn't make it. And the second year is coming along fine, and now we are waiting for the latest generation to start next September. Now, one particular property of the master is a very nice system to get the students started with the master thesis, which is connected to the seminar that we actually offer to the master students in the fall semester, so that they can get ready for the thesis that we'll do actually during the spring. So how does this work? Well, Basically, during the fall semester in the seminar, the students are going to visit the different research groups. They get exposed to the research that we do, and there's lots of research that people are doing. And sort of after 1 month, they have decided which topic they want to pick, which advisor they want to work with, and they work on a proposal that they actually have to present and defend at the end of the semester. Based on the feedback that they get, not only from their advisor, but for the whole institute. So this is a very nice special property of the program. The students, when they defend their thesis, when they defend a proposal, they are actually doing it in front of the whole institute, which I think puts a bit more pressure on them, but also gives more value about the work that they have to do. The research, the thesis can be more or less researchy, so they can also do more practical engineering work, and the thesis can be done within the institute, within a research group, but also in collaboration with external companies in Lugano. So far, the first year we had only one student that did an external thesis, and then I think it also got hired by the company. And this current batch of students that will start in the spring, we have 3 that are going to be externally in collaboration with the company in industry, and the other ones will be spread around the various groups of the institute. Most go into Code Lounge, of course. That's very attractive for the students. So this has been a retrospective or a look at the current state of our educational program. Now we'll hand it back to Michele for the review. Thank you.
Thanks, Cesare. So the first thing I'm going to do is just, I'll be a forward pointer to 3 different people. So this is about the events in 2019. We had 3 scientific events, or I would call it scientific events. The first one is the SI seminar series that we have been running now, thanks to Paolo, for 1.5 years, I think. Then, so 1 year, I was corrected. Then we did SIESTA again for the 2nd time, so the summer school, and very exceptional event, we also did the USI Hackathon here at USI. There's a bunch of minor events in reality as well, where especially Code Lounge participated to the Digital Day organized here in Lugano, the Lugano Città del Gusto, and so on. But let's say they are minor events, although they require also quite some effort. So I'll hand over to Paolo now for the seminar series.
Thanks, Michele, for introducing the topic. In this short presentation, I would like, first of all, to recap what is this seminar series, because some people have joined the Institute recently, might not know about it. And then I will give you the results of a poll, of a questionnaire that was collected in June last year about, let's say, the perception of this seminar series, whether people liked it or not, and whether they had suggestions to improve it. And finally, the most interesting part, we will present the awards to the best speakers of the seminar series. So I think everybody's waiting for that. So first of all, why? So 1 year ago, we met and we said, probably it's a very good idea to have a seminar series for a bunch of reasons. We would like to promote collaboration across groups. We think it's important to disseminate knowledge and also to train young people, young researchers. And we want to stimulate discussion. So as you will see in a moment, the format of the seminars is such that the discussion is a central part. We also want to provide a protected environment to young researchers, to PhD students, to try their presentation skills and also to try to be engaged in scientific discussions, which is an important skill in our job. And overall, we thought the key idea of this series is that as an institute, we want to aim for a shared software engineering culture, which means there can be different points of view, but it's important to put them together, to discuss them, and to confront with each other. So the format of the seminars is 20-minute presentations and 20-minute discussion. So as you can see, a lot of space, a lot of room for discussion. The content is quite open. It can be a paper of your own, a paper of somebody who did interesting work, a classical paper, but also preliminary research ideas on which you want to collect feedback, tutorials, small experiments. So here, really, we are open to any imaginative proposal for a seminar. It's basically our seminar series, but we are open, so we are open to other participants and also to speakers. We have been hosting speakers outside the Software Institute. And there is a special rule that is the first question in the seminars is by a PhD student, again, to support their growth in the capability to discuss and to intervene in these kind of events. There will be a little novelty in 2020 for PhD students. We are working on that, and we are aiming to have one ECTS, one credit recognized for attendance to at least 15 seminars. It's not yet finalized. We are discussing this with the PhD program directors, but the series will also include this for the PhD students who want to get it. Okay, so this is shortly the format and what the seminar series is about. Then I will move on with the questionnaire. So in June, you were asked to answer a number of questions, and the first one was whether you enjoyed the seminar series or not. And as you can see here, the vast majority is in favor of it. So I'm very happy about this slide and this response because it indicates that it was really appreciated by people. And then we considered our initial objectives, whether the series is useful to promote cross-group collaboration, which is more or less true. Here there is some distribution of opinions, so maybe it didn't work greatly in this respect, but it worked very well in training young researchers, as you can see, in stimulating scientific discussion. That was also very appreciated and very effective. And overall, in creating this shared culture, it seems that the series is working fine in this direction. The format, as you can see from this slide, was also quite appreciated. And well, we collected also some free text suggestions, and in June, people asked for more hands-on stuff. I think it was mostly because most of the tutorials came in the second half of the year, so probably asking this question or let's say revising this comment, now we could get a different picture. Some proposals were to have the slides available. We are working on that because we want them to be available, but somehow to be also in a protected zone, not to be publicly available to anybody. So we will create some place where we can store them and everybody from the Software Institute can access them. Then there was a question about the weekly schedule, and let's say people think the weekly schedule is fine. It's also centered around the semester, and it is also fine. Some people think it could go even beyond the semester. And finally, we collected some other more detailed comments on the improvement. And in general, well, the discussions were appreciated, as I said. Some proposed to postpone the seminars to 5 p.m. We will see if people agree on this, because of course it can be also a threat, because some people might be not available at this time of the day. And to conclude this part, some statistics. We had 25 seminars between February and December, 7 invited talks from external speakers. And now we come to the, let's say, probably most interesting part of my presentation. So, thanks to Andrea, we have organized a poll in which we asked everybody to vote for the best speaker, the best presenter at this series. And we have considered 3 categories. So the senior speakers, the postdoc speakers, which include, so senior speakers include the group leaders of Code Lunch. The postdoc category includes the postdoc category includes the group leaders, while the PhD category includes the R&D engineers. So in the senior category, we had 2 seminars, one by Carlo Alberto and the other by Marcos. So these 2 people are gonna fight for that. And the winner is Carlo Alberto. So congratulations. And we have a certificate for Bavota.
Thank you.
Congratulations. And we get to the postdoc category. Here the competition is tougher, of course, because you have 5 people competing. And so Chab, Andrea, Gunel, Vincenzo, and Andrea. And the winner is Andrea Stocco. Congratulations. Congratulations. And the most populated category is the PhD category. Here we had the seminars by Andrea, Luis, Fencai, Eugenia, Alejandro, Emad, Anna, Bim, Davide, Jesper, and Bargav. So a lot of competition, but fortunately there was a tie. So we are going to present 3 awards, not 1, because 3 people actually won the award for this category. And the winners are Davide, Jesper, and Bargav. Thank you. Congratulations. Okay. Congratulations. Thanks a lot. And congratulations. Yeah. And with this, I give it back to.
Okay, time for the summer school. As you know, as a software institute, we are organizing this summer school since a couple of years. The name is SIESTA, and we organized the first edition of SIESTA in 2018, in September 2018, here in Lugano. And we learned a lot from this experience, especially that organizing this event here costs a lot. So we decided to adopt, let's say, a different model from the subsequent year. And what we are doing is to co-organize a SIESTA together with another university somewhere else, let's say in Europe. And what we did in 2019 was to co-organize it with the University of Molise in Italy. The co-organizer was Rocco Oliveto, the local organizer, let's say. And the model works in the following way. Basically, we have the host institution that provides some sort of fundings that we use in part to reimburse the speakers, like their flight, their staying in the venue. And we take care mostly of the program, so defining who are the scientific program, who are the speakers, and we help with the social events. We take care, thanks to Elisa, of registrations and all the bureaucratic stuff. And I think this model worked very well. It helps a lot in reducing the costs because, you know, we are not making money out of SIESTA, but we are trying to not lose money. And we managed to do that this year. And for the next year, we got 4 proposals to co-organize the SIESTA. So I think people really want to host this event, which is good. We have 2 proposals from Italy, 1 from Austria and 1 from Belgium. And what we are doing now is to basically discuss these different proposals and decide where to organize the SIESTA 2020. And this is something we will do within 1 month from now, I think, at the latest, because we then should start advertising and everything. These are just a little bit of information from the last 2 years. You can see the speakers for both editions. As you can see, we are trying to involve people from the Software Institute. Why? 2 reasons. First, it's yet another way to showcase our research. Second, of course, it also helps in reducing costs, because this is something we keep an eye on. And in terms of registrations, we got both years a little bit more than 20. In both cases, we had 4 from our university. So these numbers that you see include these 4 registrations from USI. And we are not really happy about these numbers. I mean, we would like to increase the number of attendees at least to 30, 35. But it's very tough because there is a lot of competition in terms of summer schools around. But if you have any suggestion on how we can increase the number of participants, feel free to talk with me, with Michele, or with any one of the organizers that are also Chaba, Roberto, Elisa, and then Mauro. So talk to us because our goal is to make this a long-lasting event. And yeah, we'll try to improve every year. That's it. Next one, Hackathon, Marco.
All right, let's talk about the USI Hackathon. So the USI Hackathon was like first discussed at the beginning of 2019. So we had this idea of like taking a bunch of data sets from the city of Lugano, providing these data sets to people and see what they can do with them to like build prototypes, or like just analyzing the data to make the life of people, of citizens or tourists in the city better. So leverage their creativity and the data. So the event was like co-organized by Code Lounge and the Software Institute and the city of Lugano through Lugano Living Lab, and also Hackathon for Kids for a companion event called Mini Hackathon. The event was actually a great success. So just like some stats about the actual event. So we had like not 48 hours of coding because we had some presentations, but about 42 hours of coding, which because some people actually didn't sleep during the event. Some people slept in the auditorium, in the Aula Magna with sleeping bags. In total, we had more than 100 participants. So at one point, we were like wondering about to have enough participants, and then we had to close this because we had too many participants. And then we started to get complaints because we closed the subscription. As I mentioned, like we organized with Hackathon for Kids a mini hackathon. So we had also like a bunch of children only for the Saturday playing with not playing, like programming with Minecraft, building like buildings or other construction for the city of Lugano. So some other metrics are with Mauro Prevostini, with the magic of Mauro Prevostini, we were able to raise 30K from sponsors in like a month. We got data from 8 different data providers, and we had like a very, very strong jury composed of 16 members for the main hackathon, including a professor from the Software Institute, and 6 members for the mini hackathon, also including members of the Software Institute, which I would like to thank again. And now the metrics of how you measure like the output of coding, of course, is the amount of Red Bull you drink and the amount of pizza you, that have been consumed. So 85 kilograms of pizza and more than 300 Red Bull for 42 hours. Some other interesting metrics are during the event, the Uzi Hackathon hashtag became the trending one in Twitter on Saturday and Sunday in the Ticino area. And if you wonder like how much work was behind the scene, well, if I filter my email of the Terms Hackathon in 2 months, there are like about 2,000 emails, which an average of 32 emails per day, including Saturday and Sunday. So a bit intense. Those are like the sponsor that we were able to attract, including like a sponsor that gave us money to organize the event, sponsor that like gave us technologies or like engineers. So the couple of guys from Elastic flew from Paris and stayed with the participants to help them out until 2 a.m. on Friday. And they were back on Saturday morning at 7 a.m. So they felt like pretty involved. And then we got data from the city of Lugano, TPL, AEL, Swisscom, Public Bike, H-Benchmark, which measures how hotels are used in the region, the Swiss Meteo, and Società Navigazione Lago di Lugano. So all this was actually possible thanks to a dream team of people who made all this possible. So it was a lot of work, but I would say also a lot of fun. We like did everything like from buying the food to delivering the Mandarin to the table of the participant, to moving the table, to clean the data, build a software that delivers the data only to register participants, the registration, badges, t-shirts, gadgets, really like everything was done by this group of people. It was amazing. And like to close out, just like I would like to show you like the beginning of the hackathon in 60 seconds. Oops, maybe 65 seconds. Here we are arranging the table for the actual work after the initial presentation. And then there will be like the technical sponsor will give us instruction how to use the technology. And then we have a lot of other movies if you're interested of how people were consuming food. It's very informative. Thank you very much.
Since it's my role to be polemic, because I like doing that, the fact that 9 people organized the hackathon is of course cool, and yeah, as an experience it was amazing, okay? But in reality, if you think about it, it's quite sad, okay? Because you would expect that there would be more help, and especially from the side of USI as an institution, that help was pretty much absent. So with respect to, now you might be wondering, and I will come then later to the future plans, what about USI Hackathon 2020? Not gonna happen, okay? This is for 2 reasons. First of all, because we don't really have the resources. Second, because, actually 3 reasons. Second, because as you've seen, we are full of projects and we have other stuff to do, okay? And the third one, in reality, is right now we are in discussions with the city of Lugano to try to leverage what happened during the hackathon, where our idea is to pick 1 or maybe more of the winning projects and say like, okay, look, I mean, this was hacked, okay? So we all know the quality is not gonna be superb. Can we try to see if there is something, since it's data that pertains to the city of Lugano, if we can build something actually that in the end is a win-win, so that in the end the city obtains something and we can build something. And our idea right now is to have this thing as a bi-yearly event, where 1 year we organize the hackathon, which is a lot of work, and then the second year we try to leverage the results of the hackathon, and then always interleaved. That's the idea, okay? Now, with respect to events, there have been some more events, okay? So first of all, these are the scientific events. As I said, there were some minor, let's say, scientific or para-scientific events, but actually, in a way, much more important than that with respect to the institute as such, there have been a lot of socialization events, okay? So there have been the postdoc nights organized by our postdocs. There has been what I would call the go-kart yourself event, okay, where rumors say that I was not the winner, but in reality I was the fastest, okay? So that's a super cool event, and we are going to repeat that, by the way, probably February, March, because Max Di Penta wants to come losing at all costs, okay?
We should do it with electric cars.
That gives you an unfair advantage. Then there was the Christmas lunch, which I think was attended 100% by the SI members, which was also very cool. Then another way to socialize is, of course, the fridge and the coffee machine. And I think that is working actually very well. And in conjunction with that, the Software Institute Lounge. I think it created a quite unique environment where people meet to have a chat and have coffee or just do nothing, which is also fine. So that's pretty cool. So as far as I'm concerned, this part is going very well, because if I think back about the feedback that I obtained a couple of days before the last General Assembly, so I asked people basically what are the expectations that you have in an institute. Since we were 1 year younger, which is 50% of our lifetime, back then some criticisms or some remarks were made about well, we are a little bit we're not really integrated, we barely know each other, and so on. And I think that over the course of 12 months, this has gotten much better, okay? Because obviously, this is not Soviet Union. It's not that I can tell you socialize and then everybody's social, okay? This is a bottom-up thing. So either you like each other or not, and then slowly you start hanging around together, which is nice. So this is going well. Just another side remark. I didn't have the time because days are stressing. There has been another way that we have done, let's say, I wouldn't call it outreach, but more in-reach, and that is we had guests. We had a bunch of guests, okay? So I tried to collect the data to do a world map and so on. I didn't have the time to finish it, I'm sorry. But in reality, we had a bunch of people already from various countries, continents, and so on. And as a matter of fact, right now we have the first long-term visitor, which is Massimiliano Di Penta. So for all of those who have not yet spoken to him, especially the PhD students, I really recommend you to go there. Max is a machine, okay? That guy is right now going to be program co-chair for ICSI, FSC, and ASC. Okay, so, and these are like the 3 top conferences there are, full stop. So he's worth it, okay? Now, this is all about 2019. 2019 is the past, we are in 2020. What about 2020? So, now it gets interesting. First of all, about the fridge and the coffee, okay? So as you know, the fridge and the coffee is based on a co-sponsoring model, where each one of us pays, depending on the individual role, a certain amount of money, usually at the beginning of the, not academic year, but we will change it to solar year now. And then basically you have free drinks and free coffee for a whole year, okay? The tariffs before were computed based on 0.1% of your brutto salary, okay? That was basically the measure. And the rest would then be brought up by Code Lounge, okay, on the Code Lounge budget. Now, it turns out that either we drink too much or these tariffs were not computed well, but we have to slightly adapt them. So first, look at the right side. Statistics is that last year we spent a little bit more than $4,000 for drinks and coffee, and 2,300 and something was brought up by Code Lounge, while 1,850 was brought up by our individual things, okay, sponsorings. So the new tariffs that I would like to propose, and as a matter of fact, it's really a proposal, okay? You can also, as you know, this is an opt-out model, so whoever does not want to drink coffee or does not want to have those drinks accessible, you just opt out. But the new tariffs are slightly adapted. It's per group $20 more than before, while for PhD students it's $10 more for a year, okay? I know we're talking here about substantial amounts of money, I'm sorry for that, but these are the new tariffs. If we do it like that, basically the weight will be shifted and go, at least for 1 year, go a little bit more on the side of Code Lounge, so that Code Lounge sponsors less than 50%. As we grow, because we will grow this year, probably then it will slowly shift back, and I guess this probably sounds about right. Again, we will revise this whole thing 1 year from now. That's the first one, okay? Then more stuff. Things on the agenda for 2020. So we had already, like Cesare said, 7 graduates from our master program. Number 8 is not in the starting blocks, but in the hospital, okay? But will happen soon, and then the complete first generation will be done and gone, okay? Now, this thing with being done and gone is a problem because we need to keep connections with those people. So the idea is to build an alumni group of the Software Institute, and then this will also apply to actually anyone in the Institute. So PhD students, postdocs, anyone who visits us or is with us for a certain amount of time. So basically to slowly create a network. You go like, why? Believe me, it's useful, okay? Everything is about connections in this planet. Then another thing which is on my agenda is right now a lot of data that is usually shown to you with either with those slides or in other presentations relies on some files like tables, documents, Word files, templates, and so on. Right now it's a bit of a mess, okay? There's some stuff on Git and some stuff in Google Docs and some other stuff in this other thing that the university has, and so on, and Dropbox and so on. So we decided eventually to go towards SharePoint. And the idea in the next couple of weeks, not days, is to create once and for all the real USI Software Institute SharePoint thing where everything that is public will be public within the Institute. So all these tables and those numbers, I don't want to keep them secret. This is real information and we have to share it as much as possible. The next one then is the website. As you know, we have the second coolest website at the university, done by Andrea and Luca. In case you wonder which one is the coolest one, it's also done by Luca and Andrea, but it's for the Institute of Finance, okay? Which is weird. So we have to basically take care of the website, And luckily, there have been some volunteers that, if I remember right, are Andrea and Vincenzo. Matteo. Oh, perfect. Very good. So you have to help out Andrea a little bit. So very good. And again, the website for me is an evolving construct, and it's not about just a bunch of static web pages or nice pictures. I hope that slowly we will be able to put up also some dynamic content. That would be really my vision. Like if we end up having someone develop in the institute or one of our students some interactive websites or something like this, then they should become part of the website, okay? Then let's come to another thing, which is about affiliation. Now, all of this, in a way, one subliminal message here that is being passed is that we are the Software Institute, right? So this is all about identity. Now, identity needs to be expressed, okay, through the affiliation. So we discussed this 2 meetings ago. So for the record, for those that don't know, the Software Institute leads have a weekly meeting of the Institute, which is actually a formal meeting with minutes and all that, okay? So 2 meetings ago, we finally came up with a decision, unanimous, on affiliation. So first of all, know that all of these things that you see here are not allowed. Now, it's not us, the Institute, that does not allow them, it's USI. So as a matter of fact, you're not allowed to say University of Lugano on your papers, okay? You're not allowed to say Università della Svizzera Italiana and then open parentheses USI. Don't ask me why. You're not allowed to say Università della Svizzera Italiana where the I in Italiana is uppercase. There is a message behind that, think about it. Then you're not allowed to say, weirdly enough, USI Lugano, comma, Switzerland. By the way, all these slides will be made available, okay? And, funnily enough, you're also not allowed to say USI by itself. You're just not, okay? Now, what happens if you do? I guess Giovanni Zavarit will come after you. No, I don't know, nothing happens. But it's about creating also a brand slowly. That's what we want to do, okay? So what is allowed with respect to us or to USI is USI Università della Svizzera Italiana without a comma and not in parentheses. And then if you want, you can also add Lugano, Switzerland. Then what is also allowed is Università della Svizzera Italiana, and if you want, Lugano, Switzerland. And what is also allowed, funnily enough, is USI, comma, Lugano. What is not allowed is USI Lugano, but USI, comma, Lugano is fine. For the record, there's also USI Mendrisio, USI, comma, Mendrisio, and USI, comma, Bellinzona. Okay. Now, what does this have to do with the Software Institute? Well, we are the prefix of that. So, the recommended affiliation for publications for all of us is this one here, Software Institute dash, and then one of the officially allowed USI names. And you choose, okay? You choose among the 3 options on the right side. And if you want, you can also, before Software Institute, write the group name or the lab name, okay? So in my case, it would be reveal at Software Institute dash USI, comma, Lugano. Just one example. And for registrations, usually when you go to a conference, you have to register, and you can have a kilometer-long name like we just did. On the publication, it's not a problem. Our recommendations from the heads of the institute is to use Software Institute dash USI, comma, Lugano. Okay? If there are any questions, just drop them. At the end, there will be a Q&A session before the apero, because there's going to be an apero after this. Okay. Now, let's go on. More things to come. I am working with Elisa, or Elisa is working, and I'm just sitting there, on the creation of a newsletter, okay? Maybe you've seen them from other institutes as well, the bigger ones, like the EASY Institute, which is the one on Studi Italiani, or some other institute where they release a monthly newsletter. Now your question is, what does go in there? Well, I guess we can put all the seminars in there from the seminar series if we have guest speakers, if we have, for example, master defenses, PhD defenses, any other kind of event. And on top of that, this is a newsletter, and we basically say what goes in it. So, for example, we could also maybe put New projects accepted, publications, depends, because if we publish too much, then it just goes, okay, so depends, we have to find the right balance. And then the question is, who gets the newsletter? Well, all the people who are registered to the newsletter. The way it works at USI right now, being a very modern institution, is that everyone gets it. And you have to opt out. Only that the opt-out system does not really work, but that's between us, okay? Then, of course, we will continue with the SI seminar series. As Paolo said, there will be some news. For example, the fact that now it's worth something for the PhD program, which is very nice. Then one new plan, and Carlo will be in charge of that, is to start a so-called distinguished speaker series. So this is not like a part of the normal seminar series, so it's a selected people, like high-level people or renowned people, and this is really like in a yearly plan, so like maybe 4, 5, 6 talks every year, and we know months or even half a year or even more ahead that this is going to happen, and then we will do targeted marketing on this, okay? Architecture, for example, the Architecture Academy does that, okay? So this will be cool, and we are right now looking at the various possibilities of who could be speakers and so on. Then another thing, which I already had in mind last year, but of course I failed at that, is it would be nice if we could try to organize a joint summer barbecue, okay? Just before the end of June, before everybody disappears, or at least I disappear, and yeah, we can just spend some time together. There are some various places in Ticino where we can go, and it's also vegetarian friendly, don't worry. Then another plan for this year is coordination with respect to hardware infrastructure. Now, what does that mean? Now, the thing is that we managed to get all these projects, okay? Many of those projects include a hardware component, where SNF, for example, gives you 20K for buying servers, okay? And an ERC gives you 50K to buy your server. Now, the question is, what should we do this in an independent way? Which obviously you can. That's the way things have been run so far. Every time I got a project for myself, I went out and looked at the best thing I could buy for me. And then you basically do that, and that's it, and the server runs there. Since we have all this available money, it would be nice, and for that we will need the help from outside of the heads, because actually the people actually doing the research are not the heads, we just think about it, okay? It would be nice if we could come up maybe with some kind of joint infrastructure, partially joint infrastructure, or it's also possible, again, opt-out model, that you say, okay, look, for this project, I get this money, I don't want this to be shared with anyone, which is also fine. But if there is a possibility for synergies, I think we should leverage them. Because what you can also do, and nobody forbids that, is actually to put the money together. So instead of buying 2 servers for 19K, you can buy 1 for 38. And you can understand that maybe then it scales, okay? And then the last item is the move to Campus Est. So in end of August, beginning of September, we will have to leave Via Balestra, which is, I find it a sad thing, and we will move to Campus Est, so the new campus. We will move to the 3rd floor, okay? This is the way the 3rd floor looks like. Now, don't fixate yourself too much on which office is where and which lab is where, because we decided in the Institute Council that we will take this decision on which group goes where in the coming months, because this thing is still being built, okay? And the groups are still growing, and we are growing. But there are certain invariants, in my opinion, with respect to our new facilities. Just a side information, this thing is much bigger than what we have right now, okay? So even the smallest labs, which are the ones 44 square meters, they're nearly double in size than what is there right now, okay? So the 60 square meters, they're way bigger. So there's a lot of space. The invariants are, there is an open area that we will convert to lounge, basically the way we have the lounge, and we are right now in discussions with trying to push the university to build a kitchen there. And if we manage to do that, then in the end we will obtain the same context that we have in Via Balestra, also learning from that, but a little bit larger, which is nice. Then there will be another big open area, but more on the side, okay, that we will reserve for all the master students working on their thesis. Because right now, some of them sit inside the labs, sometimes you find them in the meeting room, sometimes you find them in the lounge, sometimes you find them on the floor, so it's not good. So we will push them basically all together in one space, and they will be there. And depending on space availability, this could also be for students working on their bachelor projects. This could even be about visiting PhD students, of which we have actually quite a bunch right now. But my take, my personal take, for example, if I would have a visiting PhD student, probably I would put that person together with the group, okay? Because otherwise it's too disconnected. But again, this is fully free here as a choice. Then another invariant here is there will be a guest professor office, and for the record, it's not going to be that one necessarily. I just needed one, okay? And I took the smallest one. So there will be a permanent guest professor office, because right now the problem with Max Di Penta is that he is sitting, it's not the problem that he's sitting with Roberto and Chaba. The problem is that he needs to do Skype calls and all that, and since he's staying really 3 months, it would be nice to have a more personal space. And one of the promises we actually made among ourselves, among the heads, is that we will try to keep that office occupied as much as we can. There are already a bunch of people who are on some kind of waiting list, which doesn't exist, but there is this virtual waiting list, who want to come visit us for extended periods of time or for sabbaticals. And then we will basically always have a permanent presence of someone that we would like to have with us. The fourth invariant is one of the offices of the labs will be converted to a meeting room. So we will have a permanent meeting room, which again will be bigger than the one we have right now. And this is really the SI meeting room. So this is meeting room for us. Since we are not huge, we will be able to do a lot of stuff in there. Among other things, even maybe guest seminars, for sure the institute meetings, not the General Assembly, because it will always be here, okay? Then another thing, and that's actually the nicest idea, is this thing here. So we are right now 7 heads, okay? And there's 9 labs. Now 1 lab will be converted to a meeting room, which leaves 8 labs, and 1 lab actually will become what we will call the Software Institute Sandbox Lab. This is a lab that belongs to all groups, and this is for projects between the groups. So if you have collaborations going on, for example, with Code Lounge or any other thing, you want to do some stuff between entities, then this is the lab where we can do that. We can have plotters, printers in there, 3D printers in there, we can have drones in there, we can have whatever we want in there, okay? And if this clicks, I think that this one might be one of the keys of the future success of the Institute. Look at it as the scientific lounge, okay? Maybe that's a better name. Anyway, it's like the lounge, but there's no coffee in there, there's only brains working there. So that's about it. As I said, group picture after this. Then one important thing which I put there as more promotion. In general, and for the record, all of this is being recorded right now, but it will stop recording as soon as the Q&A session starts. In general, one thing I noticed, or one mistake I have done, being the director right now, is that we are losing slowly the past, okay? So whenever we do events, even socialization events, but also scientific events, we should somehow keep records of that. That can be pictures, it can be movies, and so on. We have done that in a systematic way for the first time for the hackathon. And we literally have tens of gigabytes of movies and pictures and other stuff. And this is really important, first of all, for branding and also for promotion. Because, and that's, let me just do a little minor injection on my side. My take on being a university is that, look, research is important, and I'm talking here to people who basically have a career in research, but a university does not live on research. It lives on teaching, okay? So that's why our master program is the key to long-term sustainability, because projects, they come and go. Students come and go, publications come and go. What really is sustainable in the long run is having a very solid master program, which is about excellence, okay? So we need to do more promotion, and I can say, without a bad conscience, that again, USI is not going to help us out on that. They, I think, are just not on the piece with this. They are understaffed. They don't do basically what they could do, so we will have to take care of promotion ourselves. Other things I didn't mention from last year, for example, is the whole social networking thing, which right now is a triad thing between Roberto, Elisa, and me, and we do this schizophrenic thing where I tweet as myself, and then I log in as the Software Institute, and I retweet, and crap like that, okay? It's important, but it's not about selling pants here, okay? This is not about giving out fake information. This is about creating a cool place and branding this as a cool place in the long run. Ideally, if you go out of here, I'm talking here now to the PhD students and postdocs, and you look back 20 years from now, I hope that you will think about this place as a really cool place, okay? And there will be some attachment. That's why this goes back to the alumni thing, okay? But in general, we need help with promotion. We must record stuff. So you do socialization events, you see me winning the go-kart yourself thing, you take a picture of me with the cup, okay? And Gabriele stands there being angry as always. So it's really important. Please consider that. And last but not least, I hope you want to stay cool, okay? So far, I'm loving this. It's funny in a way because all of this is happening somehow behind the curtain, or we are right now still flying under the radar. We are the best institute there is, and USI doesn't know that, and I find that fascinating in a way, and hilarious at the same time, okay? Eventually they will notice, if not, who cares? So in that sense, this is just the beginning.